today's episode is brought to you by cough syrup. Great if you sound like Bane.
It's very, very painful.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name's Tommy, and this week, as co-host and sex magic of the pod DL is traveling for work, I'm delighted to welcome back our resident, that's guest resident. He's the man behind Stitch Up, Hit, Sound and Screen Studio, and, well, really there isn't much he can't do. He's also the co-host of the Film Addicts podcast. It's Regs, everybody! Hello, mate!
Yay! What's happening? What's happening, everybody?
When are we going to drop the G from Resident? Because at this point, you're not much of a guest. You're just part of the furniture.
Yes, it's very much you know how in the movies, like it's just the entire cast and then they've got one famous person and it says "and with." I think I'm an "and with" now. Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that. In fact, you're like the Ashley Cole of this football team. That's a really niche reference for anyone, probably Brits who listen to this podcast. You'll remember this, specifically football soccer fans. There is a picture, and I've just sent you a picture of it, Regs. You don't have to Google it. Of a football team, all stood together, and there's a soccer player called Ashley Cole just on the side, just like leaning in. That's you for this podcast. You're just leaning.
I'm just leaning in. You know what it actually looks like? You know when I never went to one of these, but I know someone who went to like a private religious school, and whenever you're dancing at like the school dances, you have to like dance but not have your genitals close.
Too close.
They call it leaving room for Jesus. So it looks like he's leaving room for Jesus.
Isn't that ironic that the priests never did that in that school? Isn't that so strange?
Weird. Bloody odd and weird. Anyway, what's happening, man?
Yeah, man, what's been happening? How are you? How are things and how? It's the Film Addicts podcast.
Good. Yeah, we're really good. We were trying to go for sort of like a weekly schedule, but it's just so hard to get us in the same timeline. So we're just kind of when they come out now. We just finished our Lord of the Rings stuff. We've got a post-Halloween episode that we recorded on the day of the US election, which is pretty hysterical.
Ooh, interesting. Is there hilarity or is there...
It's both.
Okay.
It starts with some depression and ends with an absolute fucking ridiculous laugh fest. So you'll love it. You'll love it.
We touched on the US election in our last podcast, and I think, but I mean, it doesn't help that DL is way hungover while he's recording that podcast, but at the same time, he's just so over it. He's just like, more of this.
My people.
You can just tell.
My damn people.
You can just tell by his, his outlook on it. He's just like, yeah, fuck, this is certainly a thing. But for anyone who doesn't want to hear about actual politics, we are returning this week to one of our many, 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 many anthologies. We're talking about Christopher Nolan and The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
What's your memory of this film? Have you got a core memory?
Yeah, I went and saw it at the cinema, obviously. And it was opening day.
At the cinema, I think it's pronounced.
Did the cinema?
Cinema,
yeah,
cinema,
and you have the cinema and the cinepa, and the grandparents, and they give
grand cinema, and
they're the grandparents who give you the amount of years you are old in dollars for a gift.
Oh, they were the best ones. I like those ones.
Here you go, son. Here's $8. I'm like, fucking, you don't have to break a 10 for that, man. Just give me the 2. I went to the cinema and I saw it with my business partner, Dan, actually, and I'd got tickets for opening day. And what I'll remember the most is we walked out and the first thing he said to me was, there's no score in that fight.
Ooh.
The fight between Batman and Bane.
Silencio.
There's no music.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's really eerie.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll have to watch it back again to check that out. I actually also have a story about the first time this came out. So never do this, by the way. Never trust me to buy tickets to anything, especially flights, especially things which need to be on a very specific time and or date. I was entrusted to buy IMAX tickets to see this film, but of course it was IMAX. It was a big deal at the time. Chris Nolan does IMAX.
Had to be done.
And my lovely friends chose me to buy the tickets, which is a bad idea. Friend of the show, Ben, and he didn't realize that I bought completely the wrong day and or time. I think it was I bought tickets. We were supposed to go and see it at 7 p.m. on opening night, and I'd bought tickets for 7 a.m. the following day. Now, anyone would think that's a horribly stupid thing, idiotic thing to do. That isn't the first time that's happened to me. I have genuinely bought tickets for flights for the wrong times and or dates. One time, I was looking at the wrong year. I was looking at the right date, but I was looking at the wrong year, and I didn't know you could buy flights a year out, but apparently you can.
Oh, yeah, you can. And I mean, like, the fact that you're walking upright is a miracle to me because it's amazing that your brain has the power to run your legs.
I mean, I think I was probably walking when I was trying to buy tickets. No, you know what it is? I think my brain, I almost have like ADHD to the point where so much is happening all at the same time in my brain. I'm Googling something in the background while I'm trying to buy the tickets, then I'm thinking about tomorrow's dinner. I'm just like, there's so much happening that I'm just like, yes, I'll book these tickets and then not actually even look at the time or date I'm properly booking them for. I've had to, in my old age, slow everything down.
That's a good move. I will blame IMAX wherever you were IMAXing, because who the fuck has a session?
Climaxing?
Yeah, you know, you said you were going to IMAX.
I was climaxing and IMAXing.
I've seen a few Christopher Nolan movies in IMAX, and they were pretty climaxable.
I was actually climaxing in IMAXing. Different thing.
Whatever you're into. No, who you said you're supposed to buy it for 7 p.m. and you bought it for 7 a.m. Who's going to fucking see Batman at 7 a.m.?
Right. Which idiot is seeing Batman Dark Knight? Right. Well, me actually, because I actually went and saw it because I was like, you know what? I bought these tickets. I'm going to go.
And I'm going to spread out with my 4 chairs when no one else is coming because I got to go to work.
It was literally no one else in the cinema. It was wild. Guys, if you want to hear us talking about our weeks, please feel free to stick around. There will be time codes in the description, as always, supplied by Mr. Matthew Bliss of mbpod.com. And while you're there, you're jumping around, skipping around me telling stupid bumfuck stories about my idiotic life. Feel free to give us a 5 stars. You can do it right there. I know you've already given us 5 stars this week, haven't you, Regan?
Oh, every opportunity I get. I'm now just gone straight to thieving. I'm actually stealing people's phones, people I don't know, in the street. And then I run back and give them to him. And a lot of punches in the face, but I feel like you've earned it, you know?
I wondered how you got those bruises. I mean, I was going to ask, but I didn't know if you were, concerned about it or you were like,
Well, the first rule is I can't talk about it. And the second rule is I can't talk about it. So, yeah.
Well, you broke that rule by making the film about it. Guys, we'd really appreciate it if you'd give us that 5 stars. It really helps us with algorithm stuff we don't really understand. But Regs, where can our lovely listeners find you and Addy if they so pleased?
We're on all the same podcast captures, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, all that gunk. Film Addicts podcast. Addy is Film Addict Reviews on Instagram, and I am the Stitch Up with Regs. Come and check us out. We do this, but with different accents.
Yes, I mean, you have the same accent, I assume.
I do a lot more impressions on that show, so it's not always
You bring something out of me, Regs, when you're on the show. I do way more singing and actually, I do a fair amount of singing in general, but I do way more impressions. There's going to be a lot of impressions this episode, I feel. I feel like we're in the right zone for impressions today.
It's been a long week. It's been, we both look like well-worn heads of cabbage. We're ready to go.
No, you look delicious. That hair, it's great. Still growing. Oh, it's great.
It's getting a bit outrageous,
it's
actually.
Like a Timotei advert. You're just flicking it to the side. This week, we'll be doing a lot of very odd voices, I feel. I just got a good feeling about it.
What did he say?
Riggs, tell me, mate, what have you been up to?
Oh, man, I'm kind of winding down, for me, getting ready for this big trip I'm going on. Those who've listened to the Film
tell me
Addicts
about
podcast.
this. Tell me about the trip again. I want to hear. I want to know all the details. Tell me every detail. Where are you going and when and what hotels are you staying in?
Fucking hell. I'm going to get single white female. I can feel it. I'm going to Canada and the US, and I don't know why, but ever since I was a teenager.
You don't know why you're going to the US?
No, well, maybe I don't know why I'm going to the US.
I don't know why I'm going to Canada or the US. I just,
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't. Like, why do you go on a holiday? Why am I going that far? Why am I going for that long? Like, I don't know. There must be something calling me, like the call of adventure or whatever it is.
The call of the siren.
Yeah, maybe there's one there. I don't know. But ever since I was a teenager, I remember someone asking me. We're all sort of sitting around talking in like year 11 or year 10 or something, and it was like, "Oh, where would you go if you could?" And everyone was like, "Oh, I'd go to fucking LA or Bahamas," and I was like, I'd love to go to Canada. And I didn't even know why. There's just something about
A lot of Aussies like Canada. There is an affinity there, I feel.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
I'm intrigued to know what noise you think a siren makes, though.
I don't know if that's...
Yeah! It's the Ace Ventura noise. It's back, baby.
I slipped into it. It's just, he is... Jim Carrey lives rent-free in my head.
Jim Carrey could live anywhere he wanted to in my head. I love that guy. He's so wild now. He's just a wild dude. I love everything about him. But what else have you been up to? Have you been watching anything? Have you been reading anything?
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of work on a short film called The Don, which a friend of mine's the DP.
The Dong?
The Dong, yeah. It's
okay.
I'm finally doing porno after all these years. And it's called The Dong, so you know there's no women in it.
Is that the follow-up to Don Juan?
Yes, it absolutely
JGL.
is, but not the one you're talking about, Don Juan DeMarco, which is the one with Johnny Depp where he plays a Spanish dude. But anyway.
Brilliant. Not
And,
the Italian stallion.
No, and Big, who's in that one? The guy who's a really good actor.
Big Cojones? He's in it too?
I was thinking about Brando, but whatever. What was your question?
I can't even remember. You were telling me about editing a movie called The Don.
Oh yeah, no, I'm working on a short film called The Don. I'm just doing like behind the scenes stuff for the crew there, and that's been really fun because it's they're all young and hungry filmmakers, and I like being around that energy. But that's just work stuff. More importantly, Addy wanted me to see a film for the show because we're going to record a couple of episodes before I leave. And he was like, you've got to see The Wild Robot. I just loved it.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't normally have gone to see it.
Okay.
I would have waited for streaming or maybe not seen it at all. I don't know. It just didn't speak to me. And I was like, I'll see it for you, buddy. And we'll do an episode on it. Fuck, man. Pixar can fucking suck my shaved taint. It is outrageous. It is so good. It's probably the best animated film I've seen in the last decade.
We talked about doing it for the podcast. We just kind of ran out of time.
Yeah. Just go back for yourself. It's so beautiful. I was in tears the whole time and jubilation.
You were climaxing.
I was climaxing the whole picture. And the animation is stunning. Like, yeah, treat yourselves, everyone. The Wild Robot. Amazing. I think it's actually on VOD now. I think you can stream it.
Okay. I might have to give it a go.
I went to the cinema to see it, and it was excellent.
Awesome.
And I've also seen Gladiator 2 now as well, but we can talk about that another time.
Oh, well, we'll be saving that for next week. I'll tell you a thing I've been doing. I don't know if you've been up to it. I certainly have. We're not even finished yet. I think we're 6 episodes in. We've been watching The Penguin, with favorite of the show, Colin Farrell. I think that's how you say it. My God, it's entertaining.
It's excellent TV. Really,
how many have you
great.
seen?
I've finished it.
You finished it? Okay.
And it does the really, I won't say what or how or anything. It fucking sticks the landing like you wouldn't believe, which is one of the most really, really difficult things that a TV show has to do is end well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. End well. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like TV shows now fall into a bit of a habit or a problem. There's a challenge I have with TV shows, especially Marvel shows, and I think it's sort of spread its tendrils into everything, especially Netflix TV and stuff, whereby it's a movie script that they've just extended and made into a show. Like if you think about things like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was a movie. They just made it longer. You think about all those, MCU type shows, and a lot of the other stuff Disney does as well. The Mandalorian at top of my head. A lot of their stuff, that stuff could easily just be a movie. I know Mandalorian is kind of, monster of the week and whatnot, but in my brain, I'm thinking the core storyline of it, the 5 minutes of story you would get a week, which follows over, that could easily just be a movie, and they've stretched it out. So I'm glad it's not that. Every episode has its own arc. Every episode seems to build towards something greater. He is so compelling as the Penguin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a remarkable actor. From going from that sort of pretty boy, young hot thing on the scene. Yeah. Now this amazing character actor.
Wasn't he thought of pretty badly in Hollywood? Wasn't he a bit of, he's a bit of the Hollywood star, being on the alcohols and probably on the drugs.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a bit of that vibe to him for a long time.
He even admits it. And he's been sober for quite a few years now and is now really dedicated to his craft and doing some really interesting work. So, what more could you ask for? But I feel like I could
ask for more Penguin.
Yeah, well, you're going to get it. He's officially cast in the Batman Part 2. But I think you're right in the way that you say that they're kind of chopped up movies, they're also, nothing's allowed to end anymore. Everything is
Right.
like a comic book. It's all second act because they want
100%.
franchises and things. But this ends, really satisfactorily and understanding
He
that
dies.
more is going to happen. But, it ends.
Spoilers!
It ends with an IMAX climax or whatever the fuck we said.
Ooh.
But it still feels of a piece,
Yeah, nice. I think we've just got to the episode where he has united all of the gangs. It's good. It's really good. That's where we're up to. So I think there's 2 left. I'll report back in a couple of weeks and let you know how we go. I can definitely recommend The Penguin. You guys should go and check it, as you should go and check out the Naughty Robot, I think you called it.
Yes, the Dirty Robot, but no, that's a different one. The Wild Robot is excellent. It's very, very good. We've got an episode about it on the Stitch Up. The Film Addicts podcast coming out in the next 2 weeks.
Beautiful. I shall be tuning in for that. What else have you been up to?
Not a lot. It's just that, and as I said, winding down, getting ready for the trip, and getting all my ducks in a row, and making sure that things fit in bags and all that stuff.
Ducks don't like being in a row, man. They hate that.
Nah, you can't. You got to super glue them to rocks.
Oh my god!
And they fucking hate
and
that.
Throw them in a river.
They do not like it. I'll tell you that much.
Fucking hell. Oh, I tell you the thing I have been doing. Then you will really like this.
Please.
Me and the partner have been watching. Sort of like last week, I talked a little bit about. We watched Kill Bill Volume 1. We've been sort of watching like kind of interesting concept movies more than anything recently. And I don't know how or why. I've clearly very much looked out with my partner. I keep recommending these weird movies or different movies that I want to watch, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we actually watched Blade Runner 2049.
Nice.
It's probably for me. Maybe it's the 5th or 6th time for me. And to be completely transparent with you, I was really sick when I started watching. If you listen back to our last episode, you'll hear I am very sick.
Really?
while we're recording. But yeah, we put it on. I actually fell asleep for a good hour in it, but it's so good and so compelling that like it doesn't even matter where you jump back in. I was just I came and I woke back up and I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I remember this scene. Everything about it. It's just so Denis Villeneuve. He's just so him. You know what I mean? Everything we've talked about him 1,000 times in this podcast. I'm not going to go into Denis again, but his artistic vision is just so unique in its own beautifully French-Canadian way.
Yeah, everything is very lush and meditative and thoughtful. Like everything is premeditated. Like I understand that most filmmakers think up their shots before they turn up on set, but some of them just throw a camera and get stuff. But he is really specific,
Totally, and I love, and that is just one of the amazing things about him. I love that he has a clear vision for everything, like you say. Even the color palette. You look at Blade Runner 2049, and it's orange. You know what I mean? And that sounds so stupid, but it really makes that movie in many ways for me. Everything about that film's good. I really like the Ana de Armas character. I love her in everything. Like, not only is she stunningly beautiful, she is an incredible actor. Just in general,
great actress. Yeah,
there's just the minute, like facial expressions. I'm making motions with my hands, like the people who are listening can see what I'm doing. The tiny little things she can do with her face, and it just has so much emotion in it. And I actually really like Ryan Gosling. Like, full stop. Like, in this, he's epic. The whole thing's great.
He's another one who's like a pretty boy, but he's actually a really good character actor now.
Amazing character actor.
Yeah. And fucking Harrison, like, you can't be beat,
Of course. I feel like Ryan Gosling actively does a different kind of movie every time. He doesn't seem like the type of guy who's going to get locked into like a role for 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I never imagine him being in the MCU or, whatever it is. If he ever did a comic book movie, it would be something weird, almost like the Batman or almost like Joker. It would be something weird. It was something that he didn't get locked into. He could do this one role, be really weird in it, and just go away and be like, yep, check that box, move on. You know what I mean?
They keep saying for him, the rumor is Ghost Rider.
I just don't imagine. I just don't see it.
I think they just watched the first third of Place Beyond the Pines, where he played that fucking carny who was a motorcycle rider who robbed banks. Like, I mean, and I can see it. I see what you're saying, but I just don't see him doing it,
I don't see him doing anything that's going to lock him into like a long... Unless he, turns into Nicolas Cage and loses all his money and becomes like a psychopath making every movie under the sun, which is not a bad thing. No? I'd love to see even weirder. Nicolas Cage has come full circle. He's making good movies again. Who would have guessed it?
He also likes to work. He likes working. Like that's
true.
You got to give it up to him. He just takes on shit because he digs it, you know?
Yeah, and good for him. And good for Denis Villeneuve for making a sick movie that everyone should. If you haven't seen Blade Runner 2049, where have you been?
Yeah.
If you think it's boring, hit us up. You can send us, memes, you can send us news, send us reviews. Hit us up at Podcast Symbol on Instagram or thepodcastsymbol@gmail.com. We want to hear what you think. Tell us if you hated Blade Runner 2049. Tell us if you loved the Penguin. We'd love to know. We'll give you a shout out on the pod. Reeks, do you want to preface our main topic this week?
It's the main topic theme.
I do, very much. It's the end of it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
The end of the world as we know it.
Matt, please put that song in. It's the Batmans. We've done it. We did it.
He's back, man.
He's back, man, after 8 years of being away, and he's brought back into the fold because his past has caught up with him, and holy shit, does it kick his ass.
My favorite thing about this movie is not only is it, a Batman movie, which we all love. I've talked about this 1,000 times. I grew up with Tim Burton's Batman, the Batman animated series. That was my in to superheroismness. But also, it's a freaking Chris Nolan movie. We're talking about great directors and Denis Villeneuve. Chris Nolan, dude.
Yeah,
like, we're back. I really want to get through this anthology of Chris Nolan movies because there are other directors I kind of want to talk about. We have been on this for nearly 200 episodes, so it's time. But having gone through them, it just blows my mind how amazing these movies are.
Yeah, it's this one in particular. I know it's kind of maligned, and people. It might. I was
going to say the same thing.
Yeah, it might not be as well executed as Begins or Dark Knight, but I think it's the most interesting of the trilogy. I think it swings really big. It misses in places, but it connects where it counts,
I completely agree. And I was going to say, not everybody loves this film. That's totally fine. I do. I get it. I get it if you don't love this. There are plot holes, there are challenges, but this to me is just bloody epic, man. Do you have for me a stupid plot summary?
I do indeed. I love them. Okay. The first one, I've got two. Well, the second one's short.
Oh, you've got two?
Yeah, of course. I always do two. I do a real one and a silly one.
Of course.
In the most interesting and most misunderstood of the trilogy, Batman, in the span of just 2 hours and 45 minutes, comes out of retirement, fires his butler, goes broke, gets it wet, has his back broken, recovers, flies off with a nuclear bomb, and runs away with some brand new pussy, which is also a Catwoman joke. So enjoy that. And and the second one is, everyone just shut up and listen to Alfred, for fuck's sake.
Oh my God, that was going to be mine. I was going to say exactly the same thing. There has to be something Alfred related in this, I tell you. He is just the smartest man in the movies. Full stop. End of story. Mine's a little different. Mine is The Dark Knight Rises, proving that being rich can really cure anything, even a broken back. It's like that episode of South Park, where I can't remember, one of them gets AIDS and the cure is to blend money and inject it into yourself. I'm like, that's this. That's literally this film. That's all it is. We've talked about who this is from. This is obviously Chris Nolan. We've loved him. We're going to rank the movies that we've talked about at the end of this podcast. We'll have to get DLs at the beginning of next when he's back. But obviously this brings back the brilliant Christian Bale as Batman, everyone's favorite Batman. It's obviously got Gary Oldman, who we're going to talk about a little bit. I've got some things about Gary Oldman in this film. He is obviously Commissioner Gordon. We've got Morgan Freeman, who's back as Fox. We have Michael Caine as Alfred. My favorite thing is there is a video of two comedians from the UK who do their best Michael Caine accents. And it's the different periods. So when he's younger, he's a lot quicker and more nasal. And as he gets older, he gets slower. It's great. I love it. It's very good.
It's Steve Coogan and some other guy.
That's right. It's Steve Coogan. Steve Coogan is bloody hilarious, man. And we talked about him somewhat recently in Joker Folie à Deux. Yes, of course. Folie à Deux. But also, this film brings in some new fabulous characters. We have Thomas Hardy as Bane. We have JGL, who I'd actually forgotten was such a big part in this movie, as Blake, a policeman. Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle. We have Marion. How do you say her last name? Cotillard?
I mean, you can probably do it without the accent.
Cotillard?
Marion Cotillard is what
you're
I say.
saying Yorkshire, Marion Cotillard. No, it's French. French, so
you
surely
jumped
it's-
into that really, really easily. That was
Oh,
amazing.
You give me 2 beers and I become very Yorkshire. I can promise you that right now.
Amazing.
She's playing Miranda. She's fantastic. However, Regs, I have a special addition, something that we haven't done in a long time. I am bringing you a goofy IMDb picture. Actually, you know what?
Oh,
I
fuck
think
my
it's
hole. I didn't do one. The one time I don't do one.
You love doing these,
I know.
but I think you'll find it's actually pronounced Joofy IMDb picture, just in case you were worried about.
It's like GIF and GIF. Everyone fucking shut up. It doesn't matter.
Who cares? That's the point. Okay, so for everyone should be aware of this. Our current MVP for Joofy IMDb picture is Barry Bernardi. Now, he is from the Halloween movie, which you actually recommended to us, the original Halloween, which we did for Halloween.
Great episode, by the way.
Thank you very much. This is Dead Mechanic. Now, I've sent you the picture. You know what the picture looks like. You can see that.
Fucking outrageous.
He's actually on IMDb. His picture it's just a field. He's not framed it particularly well.
No.
This must have been his best and only role. Now, we have a real challenge this week. Now, I cannot wait to get your reaction to this. This, Regan, is Thomas Lennon, and his role in this movie is Doctor. Now,
Yes.
Can you please explain this picture to the listeners?
Well, he's standing there looking like he's about to chim chimney chim chim chiree with a fucking owl. And I get it because this guy's a professional comedian.
He is.
And it's weird that he's in this movie. He sticks out like a Thor thumb.
Yeah, a Thor thumb. That's what he sticks out, like a Thor thumb.
You think like a Thor thumb?
I think the picture, to me, it gets me because it's this sort of like, he's not only looking away into middle distance, but he's also kind of puckering a little bit. It's like,
Well, I mean, I'd be like that if I was holding an owl too.
It's kind of goofy. I really like this picture. It's finding it made me. I actually chuckled out loud at this picture.
I don't think it beats Man in Field. I'm sorry.
In the spirit of goofy IMDb picture, do you think he wins or loses?
Nah, I don't. I mean, it's a great picture, but knowing that he's a professional comedian, it makes more sense. Like the incongruity of it is on purpose. Not like that time we saw when we did the episode for Romulus, and it was the woman with the horse, and I was like, I missed horsewoman. Damn it,
woman with horse.
Woman with
okay,
horse.
Right. We're gonna stick with our MVP for a minute, and I appreciate that. We will stick with Barry Bernardi. I do love that picture. It's so weird. I think the more we do this segment, it just makes me laugh every time that people in Hollywood can get it so freaking wrong. It makes me so happy to see. Anyone who's new to this, we don't do goofy IMDb picture to make fun of people's faces or call them ugly or call them weird. It's about getting your IMDb picture just so freaking wrong.
Exactly.
Now, Regs, talk to me. What happens in this here movie?
What happens? Well, after heaps. Is nuclear weapons and mercenaries who are actually working for
and sexy assassins.
Sexy.
And that's just Bane.
Yes, that's right. He is a sexy gentleman. Well, no, after the events of the last movie, everybody's kind of conspiratorial around the death of Harvey, and they're sort of keeping the actual details of that shtum so that they can have this, the Dent Act to keep prisoners in jail without appeal and things like that. So it's kind of about...
They like to call it the DACT.
Yes, that's what they call it officially.
And in Australia, they talk about the DACT and they just pull your pants down.
Instead of going to prison, I'll take it. I'll take that. Because in prison, you get your DACTs pulled down for a whole different reason. Anyway, and yeah, it's sort of... That's kind of like the impetus for the film. It's, how we kind of get into this whole story. Batman's been gone for 8 years, having retired. And he is kind of thrust back into the limelight when all of this stuff comes up, and Bane and his mercenaries come to Gotham to enact Ra's al Ghul's original plan, which was to wipe that fucking city off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely great. We're going to be talking full spoilers here today. Don't worry about it. If you haven't watched this film from 2012, if you haven't seen it in 12 years, sorry, not sorry, whatever. I've seen this so many freaking times. I love this one. This is a movie. So I've talked about this a number of times, and I have a category of movie which I call plain movies. And it's very simply movies that I kind of want to see, but I never seem to find time for in real life. I see them on streaming and go, I'll put it on my list, and it just never happens. And then I'll be on a plane and I'll be like, perfect. It's the perfect time to put it on. I don't have anything else to do for X amount of hours. Let's watch, I don't freaking know, I can't think of a crap movie off the top of my head. Aquaman 2018. Let's watch this movie right now. This is the other kind of plane movie that I have, which is I've seen it so many times. I know it back to front, and I just love getting back into this world and sitting and having it on and just letting it play. I can fall asleep in it. I can just let it go. And it seems to be on every flight I ever go on. So I've seen it so many times, and I just freaking love it. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, it's for me, instead of on a plane, for me, is this not a 4K? And it absolutely is.
Totally.
This is a movie I exclusively watch from my 4K disc now. If I'm going to watch it, I won't be lazy and put it on streaming. These movies are so excellent. They need to be seen in the best quality for me. The transfer, the sound, it's so beautiful. Yeah, that's where this sits.
And I don't mean I exclusively watch this on airplanes. I mean,
of course not. Yeah,
it's a movie I can just throw on an airplane to kill 2.5, nearly 3 hours because I know I'm gonna love it and not be wasting my time on some shitty film.
Exactly.
But yeah, I completely agree. It is an experience, and it's exactly what Chris Nolan intended for this film.
The other night, I put the 4K on, lights went out, sat there just in it and absorbing it. My phone was in the bedroom. I was just, there and with it. And it's so immersive. And it's, the IMAX shooting it's such a rich, huge frame. It opens fucking in the most baller way it can. Like so with this plane hijacking and the introduction of Bane. It can't be beat. It's my favorite of these movies. As I said, it might not be the most well made, but it's the one I like the most. Yeah.
I mean, you know this, and I was going to say this movie opens with a real bang. Like, I mean, that scene is phenomenal, but there's no CGI used in that plane scene, and I mean that is so Christopher frickin' Nolan. Like, let's try and kill ourselves.
Yeah, I mean there's miniature work and there's some plates and stuff, but the actual process of it, they got a plane in the air and took
That's
it apart.
what I mean. Of course, yeah, it's crazy. Mostly practical. Skydiving stunt performers. Like, what more do you want? And that is one of the things. And I know, I bang on about this, but some practical effects just make a film 1,000 times better.
It's light hitting an object, and you can't beat it in CG. And at this time, like. What? We weren't really
hitting
there
an object, you can't beat it. That doesn't make sense, Regan. You are literally beating it.
Let me rephrase so you sexy business. Yes. But we weren't in the stage of like everything could be that, volumes and AI and all that. This is 2012. We were still doing this shit. Nolan's still doing it, and he's doing it like a goddamn gangster and winning Academy Awards for it and shit. Maybe that means something. I don't know.
So he should. I tell you what worked for me in this, Regan. The fact that it is almost the perfect cap off this trilogy. Now, I know I usually pick out a specific thing in the movie, but I was doing my research on this background, and the thing that really stood out for me was that Chris Nolan had individual themes for the movies. We talk about tones and themes, we talk about like the top level, and we talk about going through them, but the first movie deals with the theme of pain. So Batman Begins is all about pain of Bruce's childhood, growing into man, where the second film then talks about fear, and then this one deals with chaos. And you really feel that when you watch this film. And in many ways, it really builds off that, builds off what the Joker instilled in the last movie. It really makes me think about that line where he's talking about, it's all part of the plan. You know what I mean? Bane's telling you that, there's a trigger man. He can blow it up there. You can blow it up at any time. And it's all part of the plan. And that chaos that just runs through this movie is just chef's kiss.
And as goofy as you think the Bane voice is,
the Bane voice,
it's pretty outrageous. I mean, Tom Hardy said he based it on an old timey boxer.
Yeah.
And
that's a note I have too. I wrote things down for this film.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I don't
you run
do
this
this
shit,
all
don't
off
you?
the cuff.
My bad. But he's a serious motherfucker. He's a terrorist in this. Like he's vicious.
Now, so let's talk a bit about Bane. I want to talk about him more when we get to performances. But What did you think of him in this?
I think it's a really exceptionally smart way to use that character, because the character's kind of a joke in the comics and stuff.
Steroids, yeah.
It's just, big thing. And he broke Batman's back and all that stuff. But, he was in the Batman Robin movie and he was a sidekick, and it was just, he looked like a luchador. Yeah, that's
not Bane though, is it? I mean, they've never really done Bane properly on the screen, and it's really hard to do because of that. The one thing I'd say about this is this was the first watch back of this film that I've ever had where I was like, the voice. Now, I know the voice is a bit controversial. You mentioned it a minute ago. And it's not that it's bad, and it's not that I couldn't hear it or anything. And I don't know if it's because we've got like a somewhat new sound system here. It's the first time I've watched this with it. It felt really ADR'd to me. Like it didn't mesh with the sound composition in the background. It was almost like, I mean, it's pretty much what they have done. They've re-recorded his voice and then laid it on top, but it stood out too much. It was like a bad Photoshop job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really heavy in the mix. I noticed it
definitely.
as well. And I think part of it's like intentional. I think that's premeditated, but it goes a little bit too far the other way.
It's really hard to understand him.
What?
A joke will never not be funny.
It's good.
So for me, this movie is sort of like a movie of two halves. Let's say pre-back break and post-back break. I feel like there's very clear delineation between the themes of the two different halves of the movie. And very clearly, it is shown by which of the two female characters he's trying to root at the time. In the beginning, he's got the wool pulled over his eyes, and in the latter half, he knows which way he should be going. Very simple. Men are simple beings.
I really appreciate you as an expat living in this country as a foreigner have taken on the idiom of root. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, it's interesting because in the UK, what you would call a router, we would call a router, and those things are very different to you.
Yes. One gives you good internet, and the other one gives you a good something else. That's all I'm saying.
What did you think of the sort of, I mean, like, getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but like the pacing of this, because this is the first time, like, it's a long film, like it is.
Yeah, but I never feel it because you're right. It goes, I mean, it spans months as well.
Yes.
And that really helps it. Batman only has 46 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually.
And like, it's bold and nothing at all like a normal comic book movie. It's a Nolan movie, so you kind of forgive it. But he gets things going at a clip, man. Like there's no downtime. I don't feel anyway.
I would say the thing that stands out for me, and I'm probably jumping around too much here, but the thing that stood out for me is the scene where he's in the prison, because it really slows the movie down. Now it does a lot for the plot. I think people don't give it enough credit for how much those scenes of Bane being Bane in Gotham do for the plot of this film. But because it is just kind of Bruce and he's completely broken, it really slows the film down. And in many ways, that's a good thing. But in many ways, that was a bit for me that on this specific rewatch, when I was really trying to take it to pieces, I was going like, oh yeah, this is a bit slow, this bit, innit?
Well, I counter-argue that because I feel like that is the part of the story that is that sums up the entirety of the trilogy.
Definitely.
Like it's
definitely,
and you have to take a moment to take in these ideas. And the center idea is without the rope.
Yes,
mastering fear. Like true despair cannot exist without hope.
Yeah,
courage cannot exist without fear because you require courage to overcome fear. That's what courage is. Ordinary people facing insurmountable odds, doing the right thing instead of the easy thing. That's what the legacy of Batman is. And without the rope is the whole trilogy is summed up.
I don't care what anyone says about you, Regan. You make a very good point. I don't care what anyone says. You make a good point.
I don't care what anyone says either. It's amazing. You could think I'm wrong.
But you're right.
Totally cool.
You're right. The atmosphere of hope and fear is just so well constructed, and it's a palpable thing in this. It's almost like an extra character in the movie. It's almost like a background character. Speaking of background characters, they're all very good in this. It's fabulously manipulating your senses into being as scared as everyone else is. And the way the movie progresses and the twists and turns, fabulous. But there is one thing that does really stand out as, you know, vying for your attention almost as much as that is, that this is the most horny we've seen Bruce Wayne on screen ever.
Oh man, he fucks and sucks like it.
He
you wouldn't believe.
All about it. About it.
And I'm here for it. It's like Bond.
Yes, it really, except without it being quite as awkward.
He's like Bat Bond. He's fucking and nowadays cinema's so fucking sexless. Like think of any Marvel,
so
think of any movie The
sexless.
Rock's in. Like,
oh,
you know, it
can
just
you imagine
doesn't
The
happen.
Rock being sexy? That'd be so weird.
It'd be weird. It'd be like having sex with an Easter Island head.
It would be so bald everywhere.
From all the
So
juice,
bald.
all the juice in it, or just pops
All
out.
the juice in. No,
Yeah.
the hair literally sheds itself. He doesn't even do anything.
Yeah.
He pulls his t-shirt off, and the hair just comes with it.
Or they come out when his muscles get bigger, like.
He eats his spinach and goes bing bing, and
Yeah,
all the hairs
exactly.
just pop out at the same time.
I will say this though about you were saying about Bane kind of on his own in Gotham, tearing the shits down, and all these sort of freedom fighters going against him. He becomes a warlord. Motherfucker kills a bunch of CIA dudes and hangs them from a bridge. Saddam Hussein didn't even do that, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
Like,
that
this
shit's
guy
brutal.
he is for real. Like,
He's ferocious, and we'll talk about it a bit more when we get down into when we get down into performances. Because I think
right.
a lot of those little bits really build his mythos almost. Like he's got a palpable aura about him throughout this film, and it's really cool. We'll talk about it in a sec. But I started a new segment last week, and I wanted to quickly run it by you. So a new segment is just called "Wow, this is really good," and that's GUD, not GOOD. It's wow. It's actually my Yorkshire accents come back. It's wow, this is really good. Or if you're Michael Caine, it's wow, this is really good. Speaking, and the reason I want to bring this up is because it is speaking of Bane and his aura. And I think one of my favorite little moments in this film that's really good, GUD, is the way Bane just disposes of Daggett. It's like so interestingly composed, the shot. It's the "do you feel in control?" Just a hand on the neck, like nothing, like there's no outward aggression, there's no nothing. It's just pure anxiety on screen to me when you just see how cold and calculated he is, and the hands on the shoulder, and then it's the noise you hear afterwards where he's broken his neck and he's just suffocating. Oh my god, that scene. Really good.
I had that in my notes as well. The threat of him, the moment of I'm in charge, and then the open hand. You feel in charge, and he's like, I paid you a small fortune, and this gives you power over me. Like he's just
so good,
so calm, and so ferocious. It's those two things are antithetical.
Yeah.
They don't typically go together. You don't usually find a calm person who is also rageful. It's
I see the League of Shadows reborn.
Yeah.
I see Raja go. Love it. It's what it is. It is all of that. It's just it's so good. I think it's interesting to talk a bit about the world building and cinematography in this, because coming into a third movie in any series, trilogy, whatever it is, it's, you've already got your world built. You can jump straight back into it. And I do find it kind of interesting. This is that kind of, it's not really Gotham anymore. It's just kind of that ex-American city. It's just wherever you are. You know what I mean? Like, I think the last one you said looked like Chicago. I thought it had a lot of like New York about it. It does lose a little bit of its Gothamness and feels a bit one-dimensional because they took the Narrows out. So you remember from the first movie when Scarecrow releases toxin, and you mostly focus on the Narrows and where the less fortunate people lived. It could have really done with going back there, this film, because a lot of this is about the poor, the less fortunate in society coming and taking back what's theirs, as Bane puts it. If you would have begun with the Narrows and seeing the hardships people are having in some way, I think it would have given you that real distinction between, what they've come from, what eventually happens when they tear out all of these rich people and take over their homes.
Yeah, there is a real strong theme of class going on. But Bane is only using that as a conduit to control people. Like, he doesn't give a shit about anybody. But it's interesting to see, like you're saying, that Gotham seems less like the Gotham we've seen in the previous films. You're probably right, but it's also more about it than anything else, because Bruce does finally come back to save that city the way that he was always said that he wanted to. There's the end where she says, you don't owe these people anything, you've given them enough. He says, not everything, not yet. Like that's
yeah.
What
he never got circumcised. He still got his foreskin.
I don't think they want that. I don't think that these denizens of Gotham City want Batman's dick skin. All right?
What do you know? How do you know that's not what they want? Maybe they don't want money. No, I completely agree with you. And it is, it's the sacrifice, and that's obviously one of the key themes of this film. I would love to have been a bit more diverse in its scenery rather than just being, you know, the upper class side of Gotham. But I get what they're going there. Now let's talk then a little bit about your feelings about Bane. I know we touched on it a bit before. We've talked about the voice. We talked about the intensity. What do you think?
I think Tom Hardy is an incredible actor. I think he loses himself in roles. Again, it's a really big swing to have Bane as the character in this picture, and to have a physical threat to Batman that isn't a group of people. Is really, really interesting. And also, again, that cold, calculating nature, like everything that happens apart from Batman returning, you know, after, you know, breaking his back is like, can't be, it's impossible or whatever. Yeah. Apart from that, everything kind of goes to plan for the homie. Like he's
literally.
He's on top of it.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Bane's plan. It's not. I personally really like Miranda or Talia al Ghul's plan in this. It is her plan, effectively. You know, we are talking full spoilers for this. So one of my actual favorite really lines in the movie, a really good bit of this film, is the bit where Tom Hardy does the whole, but I never escaped. You know what I mean? From the prison. And you realize at that point that he's been played the whole time. And, you know, man was just a hound. Like, if he could have just thought with his brain instead of his dick for 5 minutes, he could have he's the world's greatest detective.
He might have seen through it. And he could have been having some Anne Hathaways instead. I think the part.
What do you think of Anne Hathaway in this?
I reckon she's excellent. And you know when it is? It's this the first time you see her, and she goes in there, and you know the arrow comes past her, and she's like, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Wayne," and but he goes, "They told me this safe was uncrackable," and her entire body. She shifts.
It's like the Clark versus Superman thing.
Exactly. Oh, I didn't know it was uncrackable. Like, and all of a sudden she becomes Selena Kyle.
No one told me. Yeah.
Yeah, just excellent. And at the end as well, when she comes back and she's sort of on his team, it's what you want Catwoman to be, you know?
The best scene of her, in personal opinion, is when it is the shootout in the bar. Where she's gone to meet Daggett's men, and expects to get this code to set herself free, whatever it is.
The clean slate.
The clean slate, that's what it is. And there's a bit where she's kicking 10 bells out of like all these guys, and then she realizes the police come, so she falls down and she's screaming, and she's all of a sudden a helpless, you know, maiden, and then she just gets up and swaggers out.
Yeah.
And I love that. And then she does it again, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's this, you know, being adaptable to the situation, which is kind of the perfect Catwoman for me.
Yeah, I mean, she's a scrapper, you know, that's what she's done all her life. And I don't.
She does have a bit of an annoying face.
What are you talking about? Are you one of those people?
I don't know what it is.
I don't understand the unbelievable hate that Anne Hathaway gets. It's because she won an Oscar? I don't get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is like universal dislike for her for whatever reason.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I just think she's just got a bit of an annoying face. She's great in this role. She's very rangy. She's like, I know she clearly worked out massively for this film, but I think as a Catwoman, she's awesome. I didn't know there was hate for her out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent, and it might have been an only at that time. I don't know how people feel about it now, but I never understand like hating someone you don't know. Like, I mean, I don't like Mark Wahlberg, but because of what he said and done, you know what I mean? Like,
no, actually, I disagree. Liam Neeson, I get it.
But Liam Neeson's also said and done some pretty stupid shit. Like,
yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
Anne Hathaway was just, you know, won an Oscar and was really happy about it. But
she is good. She's really good in this, and I'm being really nitpicky in saying it. You know, like she's got an annoying face, and I'm being a bit facetious. I think the thing that really holds this film together for me all the way through is the Bruce and Alfred relationship, and I think this movie is where it shines the most because it's not necessarily about the friendship as much. It's about the inevitable end of something that has to come to a close. It's like you get to the end of a friendship with someone that you've kind of really hung on to, but you know you have to let it go and you don't know how. And I love the way, like, just listen to Alfred, man. Fucking listen to the guy.
And the performance of Michael Caine is not only when he's trying to tell Bruce, like, yeah, great, you did a really good job. You led a bloated police force on a merry chase with a bunch of new toys from Fox. Like and then he's like, you worried I'll go out there, I'll lose. And he's like, this place, it needs your money, your resources. It doesn't need your body or your life. Like, Batman's dead. You put him to bed.
It's your foreskin it needs.
All they need is your fucking cockskin and make it happen. And while you're there, give him some fucking ball hair. Like, what are we talking about?
My favorite thing is I saw an interview with Michael Caine, and it's fantastic. It's definitely in his older years, and he's on, I think it's the Graham Norton show from the UK or something. I can't remember what it is. And he's telling this story about how he went to a diplomat's party, and the foreign diplomat, not a native English speaker, and everyone's introduced themselves to him, and he's having a great time and loving it. And this foreign diplomat's getting more and more like agitated all the time, and she comes over to him and says like, are you a drug dealer? And he's like, what? Why do you think that? And she's like, why is everyone saying to you my cocaine?
Because it's not his actual name.
I love it.
I feel like he gave like that to himself. It's a stage name. He's named something else.
My name is Mark Cocaine. Not many people know that. And he will always be that to me. I don't care what anyone says. But yeah, like that relationship really defines this film for me, the two of them. And Bruce having to meet and find other people outside of him kind of is interesting too. You know, the JGL part, I said he's a much bigger role in this than I expected. His eyebrows do a lot of acting for him, just throwing that out there. You know, having to, deal with real people again. I kind of like that in this.
Yeah, it forces him to go out in the world. And also, it not only helps you understand that Batman as an ideal is what this is. And yes, it is the relationship that he has with Blake, but it's also, the relationship he has with Selena and the city that gets behind him, the police that get behind him for the first time after everything that's happened. That it is about legacy. It's not about one man.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The Robin twist at the end. Thoughts?
Look, forget that. It's stupid. It's not. They're not setting. It is. They're not setting anything up. It's a little quirky, nudgy thing for people. And they're like, oh, it's fucking stupid. It's not. It's just to be cute. But the idea is Batman as a symbol, and if you get over it, JGL is a fucking dish. He's also on the front lines of all this fucking AI shit, and I really appreciate it. And he's also the one that said fantastically, in order to work in media, you need to understand the difference between getting attention and paying attention. And I really, really love that. And it helps me every day in my work that I do because I have to live in the digital space.
Absolutely. It is very hard to actively listen. Like I found this out recently. It's a skill. You have to literally learn it. So in the same mold, completely agree.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out very quickly to my favorite character in this, my favorite character actor who is in this, who is Ben Mendelsohn. And that guy,
love Ben Mendelsohn.
He's another level. There's something about him. He's magnetic on screen. Everything about him. I paid you a small fortune. I love it. He's
got the weird lisp
about him. Yeah, and it's not even in a distracting way.
No.
His character in this as well is just phenomenal. Daggett. He is this oddball creep who's just got too much money, who thinks he can push people around with his money. I said this before, though, actually all the surrounding characters from the main cast are phenomenal, but just specifically him, the way he talks to, Talia when she's Miranda, the way he acts thinking that he can push people around with money, it just feels like a life experience he's had and he's brought it to screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's come up against that guy in his story travels as an Australian, one of our best exports, honestly. He's right up there with Russell Crowe.
Is he Australian or is he Kiwi?
He's Australian.
Nice. We'll take him. Even if he's not, he's definitely Australian.
Yeah, we're going to have him.
Until he's not, until he does something terrible, and then we'll relinquish him.
Yeah, well, he won't. He's fine. He's also like iconoclastic in this film in the sense that he isn't concerned about the Wayne.
You can't say that in 2024. I'm sorry, mate. That's not a word you can use. You have to pull up.
An iconic, what is that, a rude word now or something? Is that a 17-letter word?
No, it just sounds like another word that is absolutely not okay to say out loud.
Does it?
You're
gonna have to tell me later because I don't know. No, an iconoclast is a person who actively tries to bring down the ideals of something, or goes up against them, and that's what he's doing against the Waynes, and they are Gotham. Yeah. And that's indicative of Bane's fight to sort of tear people down from their ivory towers, even though all he really wants to do is blow up everybody.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that blowing up everybody then, because this movie...
Bombs! We're talking bombs!
Bombs away, baby. It has a crux in the middle where classic comic book panel, Batman has his... I don't know if he has his back broken in this. Like, I feel like he's not... Like, he comes back too easily. I know that's one of the quirks of the movie people don't like. I wonder if he just like sprains it really bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, but he has that classic comic scene where Bane breaks the Batman's back, and then you go into this movie really shines in those moments where it's the one-on-one between the two of them, and it's bringing that brute force and intelligence, like you say, against stealthy ninja force of Batman and intelligence.
Yeah, and in that scene that we were talking about earlier off mic, we were talking about
Who's
on
Mike?
You know, Mike, he's taking over from DL.
We were off him a minute ago. Are we back on him? My God, what's happening to Mike?
He's another fucking American that we're going to replace DL with. No, we were talking about on mic when I said that scene, their fight scene is scoreless in that particular scene.
Yeah.
And it's Bane sort of saying, I am the new. I am what you should have been. You know, I am everything that Ra's al Ghul wanted, even though he's been manipulated himself.
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. That's what I say. That quote, that line, minimum once a week.
Yeah, once a.
I'm not even joking. Minimum once a week, genuinely. Like it works in so many situations.
It probably does. Yeah.
Turning the lights off in the apartment to go to bed, and I'll think to myself, I was born in the dark.
And you're still engaged?
I was born in the dark. Dude, I keep telling you, I don't know what she sees in me, but there's certainly something. It's probably
those baby blue eyes.
It is probably my Michael Caine depression, to be quite perfectly honest with you.
People say that when they see my partner, because she's just ludicrously gorgeous and just wonderful. And I'm like, this is weird, wouldn't put you two together in a room. I'm like, yeah, well, it's, you know, I don't have any money. I don't have any money and my dick's not huge, so it must be something. There must be something she sees. I don't know what it is.
Look, let's have a partner appreciation moment. We've both got awesome partners.
We do. We're batting well, as Michael Caine would say, you're batting well above your average.
Yes, let's say that much. If you added us both together, you might get someone almost worthy of our partners. Let's say that much.
You're almost ready to grow up? Yep, and not keep talking on the fucking
I'm
internet.
I'm not ready to grow up yet, mate. I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely not.
It is 9 p.m. on a Friday night, and we are two nearly 40 and 40-year-old men talking about Batman.
I'm fine with that. Why are you laughing? I'm totally fine with that. We talked about Batman's foreskin a minute ago. This is the depravity that you've let yourself into by being my friend, my friend.
I know. Oh, it's all right. I'll wear it.
Well, I was going to make a joke before about, I don't know why I've written this down. I wrote down the action really shines when it's Batman and Bane one-on-one. And then for some reason in brackets, I wrote, or the Mexican version, Juan on Juan. I have no idea why I wrote that down. That may or may not stay in the podcast, but that is where my brain was at when I was tired trying to write these notes just the other day.
It takes one to know one.
Version.
No, we know a one, so it's okay.
Okay, does that make it okay?
And my favorite song, One Singular Sensation. That's the best song ever.
Brilliant. I'm personally a big fan of One Direction.
Yes, I really like One is the Loneliest Number.
My favorite movie is actually Juan Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I don't know about you.
My favorite is the Jet Li movie Juan. Didn't think I was going to mention that fucking movie today.
I love where this is going. This is the best. This might come back later on. Who knows?
Yeah.
But when they're like I say, when they're one-on-one, it absolutely shines. But bringing back to the practical effects piece and bringing all of that goodness of Bane that you talked to before about, you know, like his intensity, his intelligence, that national anthem scene that was in the very first trailer that came out for this with the what a lovely, lovely voice it's just iconic to me. Like it is this movie and that whole moment. And, you know, there's so much practical effects in that scene. They use a real American football pitch, you know, explosions dotted around real football players, real crowds. It's just so amazing. And like, I love the idea of the guys running, thinking he's playing a game, and then all the pitch is just like falling away behind. It's just so good.
And turning around and seeing it all cave in. And I think it's really hard to make that kind of imagery mean anything post 9/11, but it's fucking chilling.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And I think it's his really calm persona through it all. So, you know, like it's that thing you say, he's almost like a dichotomy in a person. He's a juxtaposition. He's a ball of crazy nonsense all wiggled together. I don't know how it works, but he is not only this ball of wrath and rage, but like you were saying before, like at the same time, he is in control at all times. I mean, he's obviously the puppet of the plan, but he is enacting the plan. at all times. He has to maintain his composure the whole time, all the way through. And that is the perfect epitome of that scene. His wrath, his rage has been exploded on this football field while he's just standing serenely on the side, applauding some kids singing. It's wild.
Yeah, he's so measured until he isn't.
Yeah.
Like when he's on the stock market, when Glenn Powell, very young Glenn Powell, says to him, "There's no money here." Really? Why are you here? Like that. It's just to being that kind of sassy, or what we did before, the joke where he's like, "You're a big guy for you." Like that's, he's so confident. I love it. And the fact that he's also, when they turn up at the beginning, there's Dr. Pavel's there and he's like, "We didn't say you could bring your friends." He's like, "They're not my friends." He's like, "They work for the mercenaries, they're a masked man." He's like, Bane. Like, people know who this motherfucker is. He has a rep.
Yeah.
It just immediately, the fear starts,
Yeah. The CIA bit in this is, I love that. I love that they get destroyed immediately. It's so good. And that actor as well, the guy who plays Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, love him. Beautiful.
Yeah, he's really good in that role,
scene. All the action in this is so well put together. I think the only bit that takes me out of it a little bit, if I may, is and this is actually one of the things that came up when I was like sort of researching what people, complained about with the film, was when you get that big final action scene where it's the police versus Bane's men. They've been underground for 3 months, dude. They've not eaten, and they come up and they're all like, clean shaven and ready to battle and in their like best police outfits. I'm like, really? Those guys shouldn't be able to run. You know what I mean? Like, they should be full atrophy at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you can see them eating at some point and they get supplies and all that. And I think
they get little amounts of food.
Also,
they just about pull
it's
it
what
off.
The CIA guy says. It's like, says to JGL that, they're police, they're men who've been underground for 3 months. He's like, they're police officers who've been underground for 3 months,
That's totally fair. Totally fair.
And the whole corrupt Gotham City police, that's gone. Like, everybody is, you pull the rug out from everybody and everybody falls and everybody gets up at the same time.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And if I may, the one thing, and I have a real problem with this in any movie.
The one thing.
The one thing. The one thing.
It came back.
The last thing that takes me out of this movie, and I do this every time I watch a movie, when there is a countdown in it, I go on my phone and I look at how long, whether the countdown that is on screen matches the actual time that it takes to get from A to B. And when Batman is flying that bomb out into the middle of the ocean, they have 11 minutes 35 when you see the bomb in its final position. It only takes them 9 minutes and 58 seconds to get it out over the bay. I'm like, Chris, you will make this all so realistic and so perfect. Why can't you do this one thing for me? Just make the times match.
Do you know why? Because if you think about it narratively, you're not seeing everything at the same time. Like, it's not a confluence of events. Things are happening at the same time. So as he's flying, JGL's at the bus. You know what I mean? And as they're hooking that thing up and he's talking to Gordon.
I just thought in his perfection, Chris Nolan might have added the two together. But that is also a thing I want to ask you about. A lot of people talk about this film and, like him getting back from the pit to Gotham and that being a thing that takes people out of this. But I wonder how much of this is shot out of sequence and it's just never mentioned, because the way the film happens in my brain, I was thinking about it this time I was watching it, dissecting it a little bit, kind of feels like it has a bit of an obscure timeline to it. I think some things are happening at different time frames to others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't find out, one time you find out that it's been 3 months and then all of a sudden you find out that it's going to go off in 23 days and then all of a sudden Bruce is fit again. And there's a lot of sort of, crossover where you're seeing events happen here and then you jump forward and then you jump back. And I don't think it's linear at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's a compression of time thing. I do think it's not linear, like you say. I think it jumps around. So I guess the final point to make about this before we move on is that the ending is that Batman flies out over Gotham with a bomb in tow on his bat plane, which I actually hated, by the way. The bat plane looked fucking terrible. Personal opinion, flies out and you get this one steely look at Batman who in that moment is going to die because the autopilot doesn't work and he can't get out. It's said 15 times through the film that the autopilot doesn't work. That shot is actually really beautiful because, you've seen the ending. He gets away. You fix the autopilot. He gets away. He lives a life of Selena Kyle. there is a look on Batman's face, and it's quite hard to see because he's got half his face covered, but it's almost a sadness. And it's in that moment, and you think, when you're watching it for the first time, definitely, you think it's a sadness because he knows he's going to his death. This is the end for him. This is the end of Batman, the end of Bruce Wayne. But actually, it's probably more of a sadness that he realizes that he's done his job, and this is the last time he'll see Gotham again. I really like that, and I put that together in my head as I was watching this. Probably a really obvious fucking thing to anyone who's seen this film, but I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think people run up against the ending too much to actually
I think
think
people
about it.
think about it too hard.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think at all. I think you're thinking about it in the way that you should. It's a drama. It's not just, popcorn. Like, this is a real story about a guy who went through all this stuff, and now the road is at an end. The bomb thing is it's indicative of the entirety of the trilogy that he was trying to save this city, and it's just a really good sort of conduit to tell that story.
Yeah.
I think people kind of run up against it because of the logic behind it. Well, if that wasn't broken, he wouldn't have been able to get the right distance. I'm like, you need to check your fucking head at the door here. Like, if you can imagine that a giant purple guy can come down to Earth and beat up a bunch of superheroes and steal all their jewelry or whatever the fuck happens.
Juanos.
Yeah. Juanos, the Mexican Thanos.
You're welcome.
That's good. I am inevitable. That was
Why did that sound so much like the Princess Bride?
I was trying to do Puss in Boots. I was trying to do Antonio Banderas.
Oh yeah, nice. I like that.
It was a very strange thing to give a kitten boots. Love Antonio. Anyway, the point is that you need to check out, and kids will do it. Kids do it all the time. You say to a kid, this half-fish woman's best friend is a talking crab, and they're like, okay. You know what I mean?
It's Aquaman 2018. We get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Grant Morrison said. It's you make the rules. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful ending, and fuck all the logic, whatever.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a film, and you've got to kind of check that logic at the door sometimes. And it's such a minor thing, and it's weird that people get so hung up on that. But I really love that last look of sadness. Now, last week I talked to DL about the potential other storylines which may have happened for Gladiator 2 if Nick Cave had have had his way. But I wanted to very quickly touch on, before we finish up here, the original idea for this movie pre-Heath Ledger passing away.
Yeah.
Now, Heath was obviously the Joker in the previous film, Oscar-winning performance. The Joker was actually intended to play a significant role in this, according to, Chris Nolan reports, with early concepts suggesting that he would be some sort of background presence, maybe just reveling in the chaos, perhaps even in Arkham Asylum, influencing things behind the scenes. But as a tribute to Heath, in his performance in the last film, they abandoned all that because, digitally recreating him would have felt disrespectful to the character, and I love that.
They'd fucking do it now. They would fucking do it now. If it was a different director and we're in the now times.
I was going to say, I think this is very much a Chris Nolan thing, and I don't know how many directors have that amount of integrity, and I love that for Chris. Good for you, man.
He's also got a lot of clout. He's kind of wrote his own ticket with these movies, and people 100%. Just throw money at him. Everything he does is successful. Even Tenet was successful enough.
He's a stripper. People throw money at him.
Just throwing money at a gentle British man. Yeah, that's not what people like.
With a scarf flipping around his neck while he spins around.
And a cup of tea permanently. I love that.
There's a mental image for you.
And he has no video village. He has a monitor that he carries with me. He doesn't sit down. There's no chairs on a Nolan set. I really love it.
Because there's dildos on all the chairs. You know that about a Chris Nolan set, don't you? That's why you can't sit down. And they've all got Vladimir Putin's face on them.
All these Bane dildos everywhere. Who put these Bane dildos everywhere? Fuck's sake.
I said Vladimir Putin only.
Can't sit down for cock.
All right, so let's quickly rank these Chris Nolan films before we move on to turn into themes. We have thus far talked about Batman Begins. We have talked about The Dark Knight. We've talked about Memento. We've talked about Dunkirk. We've talked about Inception. We've talked about Interstellar. We've talked about Prestige. We've talked about Oppenheimer. We've talked about Tenet.
Okay, hang on.
Now, I have the list of mine from last time, which I can quickly tell you while you search for your previous lists in the background.
It might change from last time, actually, from what it was last time.
That's perfect. That's even better. I love that.
Yeah, you just need to give me a second because I wasn't prepared for this.
Now, tell me what your ranking of those movies are. And I wonder if maybe afterwards, Matt, you could play the tapes back and tell us whether he stuck to the same form or changed.
I fucking absolutely did not. It changes every other week. So top to bottom?
Yeah.
Or bottom to top?
Do bottom to top. I prefer.
Okay.
I prefer.
Dunkirk is at the bottom.
Oh.
I mean, all of these movies are great, but you told me to rank them, so I have to. Dunkirk, Memento, The Tenant, Inception, Dark Knight.
Wow, this is a wild list.
Is it? Okay. Dark Knight, Begins, The Prestige, Oppenheimer, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar.
Yeah, so sorry, Interstellar, Inception.
Of course.
Oppie is number 3.
Oh,
I really love
stop
Oppenheimer.
it.
I think it's a great film. Batman Begins is number 4. Dark Knight is number 5. Prestige number 6. Tenet is number 7. Memento is number 8. And Dunkirk is number 9.
Wow, that's some really spicy reviews there.
I fucking love Interstellar. I rewatched it 4K like a week ago. It's epic.
I love Interstellar too, but it's not, for me, the best of his movies.
That's okay, because that was my opinion, and now you can have one too. And it might be different.
Well,
That's beautiful.
But my opinion's right, and I have to make a point of this on the internet and shout
How very
at everybody.
colonial of you.
Yes, says the white man.
No, well, I sort of meant you were the British dude, and
Yeah, I get it.
used to be
Also a white man.
Yes, that's true. I come from a race of thieves and scoundrels, though.
So mine, I actually found my list from last time. So very quickly, I can let you know that mine last time was, and I'm actually probably going to stick with the same. I'm not sure I need to move any of these around. Bottom to top: Tenet, Oppenheimer, Prestige, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Batman Begins, Memento. I'm going to slide in The Dark Knight Rises. No, sorry, skip that. It's going to be Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Memento, The Dark Knight, then Inception.
Right. Okay. Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Isn't that an opinion?
It is. It is one, and we can
It
have
is
all
one?
sorts. There's someone out there who fucking loves Dunkirk. They love Dunkirk so much; it's their favorite movie.
I love Dunkirk. It's my middle movie for his films. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal film. And the one pan shot he does where he's running through the goddamn battle is just phenomenal. It's beautiful. I couldn't think of words for a second there. Do you have any quick tones or themes for this film before?
Yeah, I mean,
other than horny
Batman just out there fucking getting his
Shagging.
beak wet, mate. He's just
shagging.
left and right. Villains.
As friend of the show Jordan would say, #top shagger.
You guys should get merch and have that on a t-shirt. You have to
Top
give this
shagger.
you got to give your friend a bit of back end, but still.
He's got, I mean, like, he's 2 for 2 in this film, and everyone else is 0 for 0. So I'm just saying.
Exactly. No, he's a poon hound. Legacy, class, and redemption.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I have all of those too. The only one I would add to that is sacrifice. There's the big fucking sacrifice in this.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful. I don't know why I went Scottish there. Do
That's
you
all
have for me then, my friend, a 3 best and or a 3 worst?
Absolutely. Do you want to do worst first or best first?
Well, we always do best first, so let's do worst first.
Worst first. The bat voice.
Okay.
Like it has been parodied. It's been so you never give me joy. Like he sounds like Rocky Balboa. And it's been parodied a lot. But I mean, knowing what I know about Nolan, he doesn't really direct actors. He lets them play and he will make slight adjustments, but he believes in them knowing their craft, and I respect that about him. But I can't think about this film without thinking about that college humor sketch where it's like the Batman can't stop thinking about sex. Yeah.
It's that scene where Talia al Ghul stabbed him and is like, what you're saying is, if I press that red button real hard, there's going to be an explosion. And it just gets me every time. Gets me every single time.
In order you'd be surprised by ass mouth badge. Like
Ass
just
mouth badge.
excellent parody. But yeah, I mean, everyone's got a bat voice. Like everybody's got a fucking, a Christopher Walken.
But in a way that makes it better, In a way that makes it better. I mean, like, it is going to be in the zeitgeist forever because of that.
Yeah, same with Bane and same with the Joker as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really think so.
Absolutely.
The Robin tag at the end is cute but unnecessary.
Yeah, I believe. I don't think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, you could have removed that scene and still had, Blake get the directions to the back entrance of the Batcave, which is
Batman's back entrance,
which is actually something that he did with the Talia.
He calls it the Bat entrance. He calls it the Batcave.
He's going right in.
Asmath Vag.
And there is just way too much Mark Wahlberg in this movie.
If only. Who would Mark Wahlberg be in this film if he was in it?
One of the mercenaries. No, the guy who gets killed in the plane at the beginning. No, brother, there must be one of us left. Does the fire rise, bro?
Does the fire rise? Stay prayed up. Stay prayed
up.
We're
going to kill you. We remember you beat up that guy. Anyway.
I like that a lot. Mine are a bit different. I don't like the Bat gadgets in this. I feel like they go almost too far. Like, it goes from being realistic Bat cool stuff to being a bit like the 60s campy, especially the Bat plane. It just annoys the I don't know what about it just annoys me. The Bat. It's something about it. And I get it. It's supposed to be tactical. It's supposed to be based on, almost like real kit. But like, I don't know. Something about it just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
In this grounded reality. My other one was like, I get it. It does get a bit convoluted at times. I see the criticisms. I don't necessarily agree with them. There were times through this watch through I was like, oh yeah, I can see why people would find that a bit. It would take them out of their belief of this film. The suspension of disbelief would be broken. And I have one that I think you're.
That? Who is that person?
It's your dad, it's
you said it like a fucking one of those fortune tellers.
The suspension of disbelief will be broken.
I foresee foreskins in your future. I don't know what this episode's gone way off the handle. I don't know what's happening here. And my final one is the
hang on a minute. Well, the idea of someone going into a fortune teller who doesn't have a foreskin, and she's like, I see a foreskin in your future. And he's like, you mean it's going to grow back? What are you saying? I don't want it.
It's like an episode of Friends where Joey puts the salami on himself. And
he's going to get the ham on there, yeah.
It's like, I don't get it.
Sorry.
God, this has gone way off the rails. My final one is just, and this is going to be a little controversial, some of the Gary Oldman delivery in this goes full Gary Oldman. And I mean, I really like him as Commissioner Gordon. He's great.
He's excellent.
I love his mustache. I love his beautiful hair. He's obviously awesome, but there's just bits in it where I'm like, oh man, just calm down a bit. There's the bit where he's like, you wish you had a friend who'd put his hands in the filth so you could keep your hands clean. And I'm like, what is that delivery? Like, what are you doing?
He was reaching for Jean Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
Right, 100%. And what's his character in Leon? He's that in this, and I'm like, that's not Commissioner Gordon. Do you know what I mean?
You don't like Beethoven.
Wouldn't be surprised if he brought that out in this. I think it's actually pronounced Leon.
Leon,
just so you
the
know.
professional. Yeah,
Leon.
Juan.
Lejuan.
Lejuan. The one. That would be. That's the movie we're talking about with Jet Li. Lejuan.
Lejuan. The French and Spanish version at the same time.
Bad translation. Yeah.
Brilliant. What are your bests, mate?
The score. Hans's score is fantastic.
Oh, the score is amazing. I actually have the score as my first as well. Can you do a Hans Zimmer impression for me?
My impression? I don't have a Hans Zimmer, do I? Have I done it before?
The first time you came on the podcast, you said Hans Zimmer in the most beautiful way I can ever imagine, and you kind of sang his voice.
When you sing it, yeah. Hans Zimmer. Yeah.
Love that for us. Please do that every time you say his name. You can't ever say his name normally again.
Okay, deal. Yeah, so the score, the Batman Begins journey theme that was the hero theme, which becomes the triumph theme, which ends the saga. That's pretty amazing.
Beautiful.
Bane, it all works. Even the voice. Tom Hardy is an excellent physical actor. He's a different really kind of threat. Really memorable. And the boldness of the story, that spans months, that has Batman out of costume for most of it, that's about real shit. The boldness to end it, like we were talking about before, people don't want to end things. and ending it cleanly. I know there's like a little tag at the end, like maybe Blake will take over from him, but they weren't setting up a sequel. They were just saying this Batman can be anyone. We're all Batman.
Yeah.
To end this
I am
cleanly.
Batman. Oh my God, I'm Batman.
Don't look around to get approval from your missus.
Why am I here? I'm Batman. Why? I should be out on the streets.
But this is the same year that The Avengers came out, which is a movie that was built on stingers. Like,
Crazy.
Bold.
I 100% agree. My first was the Hans Zimmer soundtrack as well. I have that. It's in my heart. It's a piece of me. I actually kind of want to buy that on vinyl and just listen to it on the reg.
Yeah.
My second one was you were talking about Batman not 100% being in this, but the bat suit in this is just phenomenal. Like, it is the culmination of all that's come before it in this trilogy. It's when he is in it, and especially at the end, even when he has the mask broken when he's fighting Bane, fucking love it. It just looks so cool, and it feels tactical. It feels real.
But it's still theatrical enough. It's not like the Robert Pattinson one where it looks like he's just in SWAT gear,
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it feels like. And my final one is just the genius that is Michael Caine. I just love him. Like, he could do anything. Just give me all the Michael Caine. I know he's pretty old now, but man, I could watch him in anything. He's just fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he's particularly excellent in all of his roles for Nolan and Prestige, Interstellar.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he probably, apart from the guy who does the voice of Alfred in the animated series, which is the one I hear when I read, the comics, just because it's so ubiquitous in my life. He's definitely the one I think of when I think of Alfred, and it's that Cockney accent, I
don't think he looks like an Alfred in my brain. I don't think he looks like Alfred. Like, same as you, I grew up with the animated series. Even from the Tim Burton universe, that to me looks like Alfred. The actor's name's gone from my head, but he's awesome.
Michael
That's what
Gove.
he looks like. But yeah, that's right, Michael Gove. But Michael Caine just has something about him that is just so spectacular, and he could have been anyone, and he chose this, and he was perfect at it.
Yeah, excellent.
So we're wrapping up the show. We're very close to the end now, guys. We appreciate you sticking with us. Can you guess for me, Regs, before we move on, the IMDb score for this? It's out of 10.
I reckon it's going to be really low, like 6.5.
It's not. It's 8.4. This is only
good.
1 point worse than Gladiator, if you can possibly believe that.
Okay.
Can you then guess for me the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is a percentage? The added together, the mashed together version.
73.
It's 87.
All right, this is good. I'm
People
glad
like
to hear
this.
this. Yeah, this is good shit.
And if you can possibly believe this, and it was top of mind because we talked about it last week, but Gladiator is only 78 on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. Like, what is... I don't understand. I just will never understand that. I need to move on before I get angry. Can you guess for me the Letterboxd score, which is always 3.6, but never 3.6 out of 5?
I bet it is 3.6.
It's 3.8. It's very close. It's
right.
It's right there. It's like right on the boundary. But like, I think people like this a little bit more than average, which is our question, because our show, we don't do out of 5. We don't do how many bat symbols are in the sky out of 1. We just say, is this better or worse than the most average movie that we know, which is right now, possibly forever shall be, Aquaman 2018. And why? Regs.
Because...
Better or worse?
Oh, it's absolutely better. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things that are better than that, but this is definitely up there. I think also the Gladiator thing, do you think the reason that it has such shitty scores compared to this on all of those medias is because the fucking music for that is almost exactly the same as Pirates of the Caribbean, and now no one can take it seriously?
I mean,
listen to the score again.
Perhaps.
Listen to the score again. I was watching it the other night with Alex.
The score of Gladiator is amazing. It's one of the most purchased scores of all time. We talked
It's
about
excellent, but if you listen to it, it's the Pirates of the Caribbean shit.
Interesting, but now I can't... when your brain's gone blank and I'm just thinking about the Game of Thrones theme tune. I'm no use to you here. We need to move on before I forget what we're talking about. It is better than Aquaman 2018, I personally believe. There's no CGI octopuses in this.
No.
If there was an Aquaman in this universe, it would be way grittier and way cooler. But he's not in this.
No, he'd just be a guy who sells fish. He'd just be a fishmonger.
Yeah. Well,
come to get a fish.
Trivia true, trivia false. Would you like me to start with my favorite one?
Excellent. Please do.
Okay, trivia true, trivia false. Chris Nolan went on to produce, we're speaking about the DC characters, went on to produce Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. But in an early draft of this movie, there were actually plans to include a world-appropriate Superman. Is that true or is that false?
Nah. Lies and subterfuge.
It is lies and or subterfuge. I made that one up. You didn't fall into my trap. I hate when you don't fall into my trap. Makes me really angry.
Yeah, well, don't leave lube everywhere. Like that's why people fall into them. And then banana peels.
That's the point. I want them in my trap. Okay, trivia true, trivia false. Tom Hardy standing at 5'9", which isn't actually that small. Just
That's
saying.
how
People are going to
tall
say
I
that's a
am,
shocking. I'm pretty much that height, maybe even a little bit shorter. Just saying. Had to wear 3-inch lifts to make his character Bane appear as tall. I like they say as tall. Is this true or is this false?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably true.
It absolutely is. Or taller than co-star Christian Bale, Morgan Freeman, and Sir Michael Caine. I mean, he needs to be imposing that Bane figure, so I get why they did it. I personally think they should have gone with the Lord of the Rings way and just shot him really close to the camera and everyone else really far away.
Forced perspective. Yeah. Might have been a bit extreme.
It would have been very funny, though, I have to say. Trivia true, trivia false. The Batsuit consisted of over 100 separate pieces. Is that true or is that false?
Yeah, that sounds probably right, I reckon, because it's all these different plates, you know? Separation of the plates makes you vulnerable to knives and gunfire.
It absolutely was. It had multiple different sections, including polyester mesh,
nipple rings,
molded pieces for flexible. It says urethra there. No, it doesn't. It had urethane were attached. It had so many different pieces, but like I say, it's probably my favorite bat suit of the Batman urethra.
Sorry, I just sort of went back over what you said and I caught it again. Instead of polyurethane, polyurethra. Sorry, that was just perfectly stupid. Oh, excuse me, everyone.
You know when your brain doesn't connect sometimes? I do that a lot.
Yeah, it's like...
Don't let me buy tickets.
Like when you're wearing earbuds and only one of them connects and you can't figure out how to get the other one to start, yeah.
Yeah, all the time. So you got... You're a 3 and 3 right now. Let's get you a final one. Trivia true,
right.
Trivia false.
Doing dunks.
In 2019, Christian Bale revealed that sometime after the third film was released, Warner Bros. Approached him to make a fourth film. Is that true or is that false?
I know they asked him to come and do the cameo in The Flash, and he went, fuck off. Let's say no. I don't think that's true.
He was actually approached.
What?
Although he said he would be delighted, he would only do it if Chris Nolan came back as director, and Chris Nolan said no. So we don't ever gonna get one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is you can't, Christopher Nolan has in his contract, you can't use Christian Bale as Batman unless he's involved.
Yeah, well, good for him. And good for him for holding those studios accountable, the fuckers. They'll get their way however they can.
Especially Warner Brothers, that place is a fucking bin on fire at the moment.
They keep trying to buy him back, and I like that he's holding his own at the minute. Or is he? I don't know. He'll probably go back at some point. They'll probably just throw like $50 million at him and he'll go. I mean, how do you say no to $50 million?
He'd have made more than that for Oppenheimer, just on back end alone. It was like $300 million or something. Yeah, easily.
He calls it his back cave as well. There's a joke from the middle of the podcast. If you've been listening and you've been keeping up, you'll understand exactly what that means. Ultimately, Regs, I had a wonderful time talking about this with you. I had a great time going back and watching this film for maybe the 50th time. Speaking of round numbers, I've watched this a lot of times. I bloody love this film. It's long, but it's great. It's got some of the best action. It's got some of the best Alfred. I'm thinking of A Thing. It has some of the best Aquaman. It's just a wonderful film altogether. It's one of my favorites. And you being one of my favorites, I appreciate you sticking with it.
You're on fire tonight. My goodness.
Mate, where can our listeners find you if they wanted to find you on the internet?
On the internet, I'm pretty much everywhere. You can find me at the Stitch Up with Regs or Film Addicts podcast on YouTube and all the pod captures and things that you like. My company is Hit 66 Sound and Screen.
Content.
Oh, thanks, man. Company is Hit 66 Sound and Screen. We do cool things with lights and cameras and stuff. And Cable Sound Studios is the recording studio that we own and operate on the peninsula in Melbourne. So come on down, check us out.
If you want to find any of that stuff, it will be linked in the description, as well as all of the time codes so you can jump around. Speaking of, while you're down there looking up Regan and where you can find him and all of his fabulous ventures, please just give us a 5-star review. It's right there. You're already there. You might as well give us a 5-star review. You can just do it right there. It's beautiful, and it would give us so much help. We appreciate you for doing it. But another thing you could do that we would really appreciate, I don't know what's happening to me tonight. I've gone a little bit batshit crazy. If you could pass the pod. I have passed the pod twice this week to different peoples. We appreciate when you do. It really helps us get new audiences. If you know someone who might like, whether it's me and Regan talking or me and DL talking, if it's DL you like talking and not me, I apologize. I've been on every single episode, so you might struggle. You're going to have to listen to his I don't know, spin-off podcast. I don't know what we'll call it. We will call it DL's The Juan. That's his spin-off podcast that will be coming back.
No, call it the Down
please,
Low.
if you, I love that for him.
And it's just him talking about cool shit and how smooth he is and sunglasses.
And his goddamn sex appeal. That motherfucker. All right, if you do like it, guys, please pass it and give it to a friend. Give them the gift of Podcast Assemble this Christmas. And big thank you, as always, to Mr. Matthew Bliss for editing and mastering this week's episode. If you'd like Matt to be part of our podcasting team, get in touch with him at business@mbpod.com or head to mbpod.com, find out more about his services. And if you want to hear his podcasting stuff, if you've got enough time for more podcasting, because you've listened to all of our back catalogue, you've listened to all of Stitch Up with Regs catalogue, the Film Addicts catalogue, you've got to listen to our friends who we've talked about, Juan and Kike, Until the End of the Line podcast. We've talked about all of our friends this week. They've all been here through the pod. But if you want to listen to Mr. Matthew Bliss, you can go away and check out Coffee with a Podcaster. Super wholesome content. Think pieces about the world of podcasting. And if you like what you're hearing, hit us up at podcastassemble@gmail.com. Let us know. Find us on Instagram at podcastassemble. We will at some point post some more content. We promise. We've been saying this forever. We are also on YouTube. You can find us there too. Thank you all for sticking with it. Regan, you have been a delight as always. Thank you so much for coming and joining me for this episode.
Happy to be here as always, friends. Thank you.
Tally ho, baby!